What is up, my friends? You know, I always start this show off by showing love to those companies who help make this podcast possible. My friends are going to start over at CompanyCam. Guys, I am in the process of setting up to get them back on the podcast because I know that I do not do them justice. They are doing so many more amazing things from when I started working with them. It is absolutely crazy. Guys, if you are small business owners, if you run your own company, or if you work for a small company, guys, photo and video documentation and implementing that in your business is something you need to be doing in today's age. This can add on to almost all of the CRMs out there, and it puts all these, it documents them, it timestamps them, gives them all the metadata that you need so you know who shot it, when they shot it, where they shot it, the geotag. Everything is there, and it keeps it neatly organized. I've seen people just kill in like the roofing industry and stuff like that, but it's even helping in the HVAC industry. How many times do we go take pictures of something and then another guy takes pictures and they go back and that picture's missing? This is huge for it all being in one spot. And it's like, oh, hey, remember that system we used to have over there when we moved it? Oh, yeah, I can go back and see the pictures. Like, guys, it is huge. And you can use this for a free trial. So if you go to HVAC Uncensored, CompanyCam.com/HVAC Uncensored, you can try it for a free trial for 14 days. All right, 14 days, no credit card, no nothing. Try it out. If you like it, they will give you 50% off your first 2 months. This is really, really awesome. If you run a business, the way it incorporates into your SEO and using these pictures to show people the amazing work you do. It is absolutely amazing. They are doing all kinds of things. There's communication in there, text features. Like I said, I'm not doing them enough justice, but CompanyCam is absolutely amazing. It's another one of the amazing companies that I work for from top to bottom. So, guys, go take a look at my friends over at CompanyCam. Guys, next, you know who it is. I'm going to talk about them every week, and I don't care if you get tired of it. Man, Gil's always talking about Bluon. Guess what? I don't give a shit. Get over it, because Bluon is fucking awesome. Guys, I always say this. We all have that one tool. So you guys aren't hearing the same old thing, me saying the same song and dance. We all have that one tool that makes our job easier once, twice a year maybe. But it's worth having on the truck. Well, guys, that is Bluon for some people. Maybe you're an amazing tech and you don't need tech support. Maybe you can't order your own parts. But there's that one time a year that you can't find that part and you're like, man, I wish I had a breakdown. Bluon gives it to you. They can deliver it to you. Man, I wish I really, if I had the manual on this thing, I could really figure out what the hell's going on. I'm never going to find the manual. Bluon's got it. Constantly updating, adding more and more manuals. The tech support. Guys, if you're out there by yourself, stop this ego trip thinking, oh, I don't need to call tech support. Who gives a shit? That's how you learn, okay? From people who know more than you. So rather than you sitting there being on a job for 2 hours, banging your head against the wall, you can go out and call somebody. They can help you. And the next thing you know, you were there for 45 minutes. The customer's happy. Maybe you were able to get more work done. Your boss is happy because you didn't waste time. You're more efficient. Everybody wins in that situation. And then the next time that problem happens, guess what? You just learned something. You were educated. All right, guys, I love Bluon. We have so many things that we have coming up that we just had a meeting with them the other day, and I cannot wait for you guys to see some of these things. I just cannot tell you yet, but I promise as soon as I can tell you, you guys will be the first ones to know. But guys, remember, Bluon upgrading the HVAC industry, and this time next week, I will be announcing my newest sponsor. So I will announce that next week, but I have a new one on board. And remember, if you're looking for tools, True Tech Tools, I don't have their website pulled up, but True Tech Tools is the best array of HVAC equipment there is online. Don't ever forget that. Mr. Billy Spohn and Eric and all those guys out there, Little Billy, they're just amazing people. They really are some of the best people. And the selection that they put together is absolutely bar none. Nobody can touch it. And remember, if you go there, use the discount code UNCENSORED and saved 8% on your order. Let's get on to the show. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States. And thank you to all those men and women who defend it. Thank you.
Welcome to the #1 rated HVAC podcast. If you're looking to grow in the HVAC industry, then you're in the right spot. Blue collar people talking about blue collar shit. Let's get better together. So turn up the volume, buckle your seatbelt, and let's welcome your host, Gil KV Jr.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. I'm your host, Gil KV Jr. Here we are, another night, another Wednesday, another hump day. I don't know what has happened with the pledge. I got to figure that out. That didn't happen last time. Anyway, guys, I'm sorry about canceling last week. Last week, I got sick. My kids brought something home from school. Thank God it wasn't COVID. I really thought it was, to be honest with you, at first, especially with that popping back up. Thank God it wasn't that. But I have not been that sick in a long time. I was damn near bedridden, and I had to do some things at work. So I was going to work every day, literally pushing through it for a couple hours a day. And when I got done and got home, I was no good. I was down for the count. So that's why I had to cancel. And it was bad. So I don't wish that on anybody. Be careful out there. There's a lot of colds going around. The vid is going around again. So be careful, protect yourself. But guys, happy to be back, man. Very, very happy to be back. A lot of things happening in my world that I'm excited to share with you guys here at some point in time. But an awesome show for you guys tonight, man. And I know when I do some of these episodes that are more for like owners and stuff like that a lot of you guys that text, you're kind of like, oh, well, this doesn't really pertain to me because I don't run the business. I'm not the owner. I'm not the manager. But that's not the case. And I want you to listen to this one. This is a guy and a company and a service that we use at Beltway that I highly endorse. I recommend to anyone. And I have learned, I've been educated by using his service by how important this is. And this is why I wanted to have him back on to catch up with him and also for people to understand how important some of these things are, even if you're an employee. Not that I want you to go out and I'm enticing you to go get your boss in trouble. That's not what I'm doing. But you may be getting screwed and don't even know it. So my intention is to protect you guys, not to screw your boss. But if you're like, hey, I learned this happened, and they don't fix it, then maybe your boss is an asshole. Let's just be honest. But anyway, let's get into this, guys. This is somebody that Beltway's been using for as long as I've been there, several years now. He's been on the show before. This is his second time, maybe third. I'm not sure. It's definitely his second time. But guys, he is the founder and CEO of the Big Picture Consulting Group. And this is Mr. Ian Schotanus. Let me bring him on here. Make sure you're unmuted. You should be.
I'm here.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, of course, man.
This is the second time.
Okay, I knew you've been on once before. I didn't know if there was a time before that. I keep forgetting how long I've done this, man, and sometimes I forget how many times people have been on the show. But regardless, thank you for coming back on the second time. I know we were talking off air that this started with just you and your wife, and now you've grown to a facility with several employees, which I think is absolutely amazing. So that's awesome, and touche to you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a wild ride, and all started with the first round of COVID. It was right in that year that I opened up my doors, and then COVID hit, and it's just been going wild since.
So let's let everybody know if they don't know when they say the thank you guys about the audio. I appreciate that. About exactly what you do and the kind of services that you provide.
So I'm literally known on Facebook as the HR guy. So what I do is I help communication between employee and employer, make sure that the bases are covered within businesses so that the government can't come in and cause problems, and make sure that accountability is there both at the top, make sure employers are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and make sure the accountability is there for employees maybe going off script or just really make sure people are talking together. So everything dealing with HR and safety, employee management, payroll compliance and compensation, especially when it comes to overtime. I know that was a big topic last time.
Yeah.
How to deal with COVID and the recurrence of that and the prospects of new mandates in different areas of the country and stuff like that. And it's constantly shifting. So making sure everybody stays on the same page to represent the brand. Because
Yeah.
beginning to end, it's all about the brand. That's the only thing that matters. Everybody's actions, everybody's decisions, every company's policies. How does it help represent the brand? And if it doesn't belong there.
No, I agree 100%. And one thing that we were talking about again off air that I say everybody is a lot of people think that if you're, if you don't have 25, 30, 50, 100 employees that you shouldn't be worried about HR, and that is that's not true at all. Beltway, as we've been growing, Ian and his company have helped save our ass or helped us get in front of things that couldn't happen by just having him as a resource, like something as like a company handbook. Like, how important is it for companies to have a company handbook that outlines everything and you have that guideline?
It's critically important. Not only is there regulation, but it is the actual, basis for communication and interaction between all people in the company. Because in today's society, it's hard to get more than two people together and not have some sort of argument. So the employee handbook just puts it in black and white. These are the expectations. And then it's a matter of, if you have a question, you ask. If you got a problem, you bring it up. You communicate. You don't just make assumptions and then fly off the handle or undermine the brand or go behind people's backs. And again, this goes for line level employees, technicians, CSRs, office versus field, and of course, management and owners.
Yeah. I mean, I've learned, so much about this. I mean, and employees liked it because, and now that we're growing and we had 4 or 5 people actually starting this week, just in this week alone. 4, I think one starts in a few weeks, but sitting there and going over the company handbook and just thinking about all of the questions that it's answering for the new hire, versus when I got hired, even though I was being hired at a different position, but when we hired people back then and they'd be like, oh, well, when this happens, what do we do? And now it's, oh, you refer back to that company handbook. It's all there in black and white, and it's, also you can hold people accountable. The employee can use it for us. Like, hey, you said if I do this, I get paid this. Or if these holidays, you said you pay this, this, and this, or bereavement, I get this. It's all there. So they can come to us and be like, hey, this is what you said when I got hired. So it protects everybody.
Absolutely. And for a fact and from experience, if you try to go off script, I'm going to smack you around too.
Yeah, yeah. And guys, we've literally had things happen where it's like, hey, we're thinking about letting this person go, or this situation may happen. And we'll ask Ian, how should we handle it if this happens? And he'll tell us, oh, you should do A, B, C, D, or do this, this, and this, or, oh my God, you were going to do that? That's stupid. Don't do that. But we have that as a resource to protect ourselves, guys, because you don't realize in business, like the smallest thing can blow out of proportion and can shut your doors down, man. It really is something that you wouldn't think would be the demise of your company.
Absolutely. I mean, it can start with, whether it's a perceived slight or offense that wasn't even a thing. If it's just a mishearing something, it can snowball if people aren't talking talking to each other. If OSHA decides to stop in for any reason, whether it's an ex-employee that triggers an investigation or just bad luck of the draw, if you don't have your ducks in a row and you're removing that emotional bias from interactions and from your policy making, if you have emotional bias, you're way more at risk. And that's what we specialize in, is because we don't have a personal relationship with anybody involved in the situations. We ask the questions that need to be asked for the brand.
Yeah.
That's what we focus on. That's what everybody should be focused on when working together, is helping the brand, servicing the customers. That's it. If you
Yeah.
do that, the money's going to be there.
No, that's very true. One thing that you've been very good at, I guess, if we can try to cover this from different angles, and I think that this would be a hot topic for a lot of people in here, being technicians. If we could start with some of the problems you see with some of the payroll structures, like some of the issues, and then we can kind of go into how you've, created some of your own payroll structures.
Absolutely. So number one challenge in the trades with compensation is overtime. Doesn't matter how you get paid. If you're on commission, if you're on piece rate or task pay, if you're doing hourly plus spiffs, you have to be tracking your hours, and you have to pay for overtime premium on all the actual wages that you earn, not just the hourly. So if you earn $1,000 in commission, 50 hours, you're going to end up getting $100 extra on that commission. That's how much you're owed for the government. And this is not a new law. It's been in place for 85 plus years with FLSA. Doing the calculations is easy. It's actually getting it implemented, because not all payroll software helps you do this. None of them do it automatically. And even if you call in for support, most of them will say, what are you talking about? You just put it under bonus or put it under commission. You don't pay overtime. And the government doesn't care, and the payroll company doesn't have liability. So overtime is the biggest thing. Secondary to that is employee equity. This is why performance pay plans are a thing, because employees want to be rewarded for doing good work. So that's what you have to build a compensation plan around. I've now developed two different systems, flex rate and DIFCOM. Flex rate, as you perform, you're giving yourself per pay period pay raises. So if you're starting off at $20 an hour, you hit whatever the dollar amount is in revenue split, you get a pay bump to $23 an hour, 26, 30, 50. I've got people making over $100 an hour because they're out there rocking it. My other system is a commission plan that has a safety net. So you're earning commission in real time, you're working at a guaranteed hourly rate, and at the end of each period, we combine the two. So you're getting paid your hourly rate and effectively a commission efficiency bonus. If you're working too many hours, you're going to get your hourly, and we're going to have a conversation. This is that accountability piece. But it's very simple to understand, very simple to execute, and it's much more supported in payroll software, than changing the pay rate every week. But either way you go, it comes down to what is going to drive your team. How are you going to be motivated? How is your team going to be motivated? What can they buy into? And how is it going to help represent the brand?
Yeah.
So a lot of customers out there don't like commission. Okay. You're paid hourly. That's your primary earning, is hourly. You just get the difference on commission.
Yeah, no. And it's so two things. One about the overtime stuff, guys, is, it, well, not even for them, but this, so if a company is doing that wrong, so what, like an audit or something would be what would, like an IRS audit or something? Is that what would figure that out, or they just keep going until somebody catches them?
So it would be wage and hour division of the Department of Labor. So people say Department of Labor like it's the boogeyman. It's actually 22 different departments within it that covers workers' comp, employment equality, the EEOC, wage and hour for payroll issues. OSHA is included under Department of Labor. But wage and hour is what handles this topic. And are you getting paid minimum wage? Are you clocking in and out correctly? And most importantly, are you getting the overtime that you're owed? Failure to do this is wage theft. And that's not a good thing to get hit with. So it's awe-inspiring how deep owners want to put their heads in the sand sometimes, because they've been doing it this way for so long, or every company that they worked for before didn't do this. The government knows this. Whenever they get bored, they're $31 trillion in debt. They can walk in and just start picking off businesses, and they like those small to mid-sized businesses. They love hearing complaints from employees from there, because you don't have armies of lawyers.
Yeah, that's good.
You're not going to tie them. They're not interested in a fight. So my role, that you're going to settle. I mean, OSHA's favorite tactic is going in and saying, okay, we're citing you for, $15,000. But wait, if you act now and waive your right to contest anything, we're going to cut that by 40%. That's a deal. That's a steal. Take it and run. Yeah. No.
Easy payment.
You don't take that crap.
$95, and that's $2,995. Yeah, and the other thing, and so that's good to know. So guys, it's like I said before, I'm not saying that I want you to attack and be a douchebag for your employers, but I also want you to know to protect yourself, to make sure you're getting what you earned. So that's why I bring that up. I don't want that to be misused or taken in the wrong way. Somebody who is a general manager who runs a company, I would never imply that. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. But sadly, I know some people out there aren't doing the right things. Let's just be honest. But the other thing is about some of your pay plans, and I think about it, is especially with inflation right now, like, let's be honest, like $100,000 a year is not what it used to be. So I'm curious, a lot of you people, girls in the chat, I think it's all guys, how do you get paid? Don't tell me what you make, but I mean, are you hourly plus commission? Are you hourly plus spiffs? Because the reason I say that is because, like some of Ian's plans, nowadays, in order to really take your earnings to the next level and not being some crooked sales guy or nothing like that, you have to have some sort of combined hourly commission kind of pay rate. You do. Incentive based. The harder you work, the better you are at your job, the more you make. Those old times of guys are like, I make $40 an hour, I work my 8. Like, those guys aren't making, like, those days are gone. Times are changing. And because of pay plans like this, like I say, is why at Beltway we have 20-year-old kids that are making $120,000, $130,000, $140,000 a year, because they're being efficient. They're doing very good at their job. So they're reaching all of their extra bonuses to get paid. They earned it. So we tell them, we give you a blank check every week. At the end of the week, if all you got was your 40-hour pay, that's fine. If that's all you took. But it could be way bigger than that. It's their choice. So if you're lazy and you want to just skate by and do the minimum, that's why you like hourly. Let's just be honest. That's the brutal truth. If you're a go-getter and you want to make money, these plans are how you can take $60,000, $70,000 a year, be efficient, and turn it into $120,000, $130,000, $140,000, it like really easily.
And it doesn't have to really. It's not that it's going to cost the company more. It's about budgeting. This is business 101, is knowing your cost versus the prices that you're charging. Just through the analysis of somebody's pay system or how they're currently compensating, even if they're on straight hourly, like some of these guys are saying, how are you doing budget wise? Do you have room that you can pay more? How do we structure incentive pay for those that are hungrier? If if you're fine with your $30 an hour straight hourly and overtime, whether it's too much or too little, or you know that's perfectly fine, and there's plenty of businesses out there that'll pay you like that. But the top talent out there and the people that are hungry to drive the brand and everything is is on performance. So I accomplish this task, I get this dollar amount. If I sell this or I perform this work, I'm getting a commission based on how much that job was sold for. It also deals on the other side, accountability. If you mess something up, you're going back. Yeah, on hourly, you're going to get paid your hours, but that's cost against the pricing of the job. And the more that happens, the less bonus they have available to give you.
Yeah.
So it has to be managed.
Plus, like you said before, it gives people that equity that, they have some control in what they make and they're not stuck in this, never getting a raise. Because let's be honest, I mean, I wish that we could pay every single technician $50+ an hour and kumbaya, but you can't do that. That's just not how business works. It's not feasible. Especially, you guys are feeling inflation at the grocery store and at the gas station. Well, guess what? So's the business. So's the customer. They're not spending money like they were. All the same expenses as the business had are now more expensive. The gas bill's more expensive. The parts are more expensive. Your employees are becoming more expensive. So it goes hand in hand. So just know that. And Jason said that, 100K is really 90K. You're close. Really, I think if you do the math on what inflation is right now, 100K a couple of years ago is actually like, I want to say it's like $83,000 equivalent right now. It's something.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. I was going to say, man, and I'm not making political posts, but I'm just saying, man, when Trump was in office, I was like, well off. People are like, man, Gil's got money. Now people are like, you all right, man? You need to take a loan? So I don't know what happened, man. I got the same job, but shit's getting rough. But so we talk about the pay structure, which is very important. And I hope a lot of these guys know that. Some of these guys are also in the commercial realm. So that's why, I guess it's different for them. But the other thing real fast before we move on from pay is I know a lot of guys are like, oh, I can get a shit ton of overtime. I make my money in overtime. When I was working, I always got to where, like, once I got past like 65 hours, Uncle Sam was just killing me. I really wasn't bringing that much more money home.
Forget that. Don't even go there. Why do you want to work and drive yourself into the ground for 65 hours a week? It's not sustainable. It's not healthy. This is why, there's a lot of stigma around the trades, and why, there's low public opinion. This is how the colleges survive. And they say, no, you shouldn't have to work that long. We want everybody on 30-hour work weeks and making $300,000 a year. That's what you'll get by coming to college. Screw that nonsense. It's about doing right, doing good work, going home and enjoying your time, enjoy your family, enjoy your activities, whatever it is, but don't drive yourself into the ground. It's just not good.
No, it's not. And one thing that I realized, and sadly, I was that guy when I was a younger tech working my way up through the ranks. I'd work those long hours. I was like, hey, I got to make that money. I got to provide for my family. And I missed on so much. And you guys, we can never get time back. You can always make money. You can never get time back. And that's one thing, as I worked my way up and became a boss and a manager and a GM now. And this is why I love Ryan. He feels the same way, is I get to make all those baseball games and go do those things I could never do. But we also let our employees do that. I don't care how busy we are. If one of them comes to me and says, hey, Gil, this Friday, my daughter's got a dance recital. My son's got a ball game. I'd really like to be there. All right, you're going to be there. and that means the world to them. And then when I send out a message, hey guys, going to be crazy this Saturday, the on-call guy might need some help. Guess what? They're all, whatever you need, man, I got you. I'll do it, because they know that it's not like, just crack the whip. It can't be that
And,
way.
and this is how you build a brand that people want to work for. You should always be recruiting. You should always be out there on social media showing the positives of why it's better to work for you. It doesn't matter where in the country you are, what you're doing, how big or small your team is. Just, make that family first. And if you're going to say you're a family oriented company, live it, prove it. Don't be playing shell games, because in this day and age, employees will just, they'll let everybody know, and they'll leave you and they'll undermine you, and and rightfully, if you're being a jackass.
Well, yeah, it's, employees hold all the cards nowadays. I always say that. The fact that we have a shortage, if you're a good tech right now and you're not being treated right, then you should look around, because everybody is dying to have good quality, hardworking technicians, and they're willing to pay for them, top dollar. So if somebody's mistreating you, then don't let it happen. Stand up for yourself and be like, hey, this, and just be respectful. Hey, man, like I like it here, but this, and this has to change. If not, then I'm going to have to take my services elsewhere. You're going to be a free agent. It is what it is. You have to do what's best for you and your family. Like I always say, most people don't leave for money. They leave for opportunity. So if our employees know that the best opportunity for them to make money as well as advance in their career and be happy is with us, then they don't ever want to leave. Sometimes it's easier said than done, but that's what we aim for. That's what we try to do. Mr. Zeke, I will see you tomorrow with Ryan, brother. I saw your name in there. What's up, buddy? Real fast, a comment. My buddy Kraus said, bro, did you know 1930, some during Great Depression, average yearly income was $4,600. With inflation, that's $87,000 today, but the average yearly is now $56,000. 56,000. That's crazy, man. I believe it. I really. It's sad. It does make me sad.
Another quick comment. HVAC teacher popped up with, well, I'm single. I work as much as I can. Well, that may be why you're single.
Yeah. And Jimmy's a stud muffin, man. So you need to, he's got a bum shoulder. But yeah, man, stop working so much. Well, one thing about Jimmy, he's in the field and then he actually teaches at a school, but he still works a lot. So go get a woman, Jimmy, and stop working so damn much. That's what Ian's trying to say. All right. He said it's by choice. And he makes some mean chocolate cakes apparently as well.
Well, there you go. I mean, that makes it all worth it right there.
Yeah, right. That's funny. So I guess what are some things that you think that you would handle that some people wouldn't realize that you guys take care of? So we got payroll, the company handbook, and all those other things. What are some of the other, or one of the other big things that people reach out to you saying, "Hey, Ian, X happened. How do I deal with it?"
Well, I've actually got an amazing book, that I've got some of my top secret events that have happened around the country. Obviously, this is highly confidential, but the one of the biggest, most common things is dealing with drugs, dealing with marijuana. How do you do it? Do I stop drug testing altogether? How do I navigate this? I don't care about pot, but I don't want to get sued, or I don't want there to be an accident that gets tied to this, and then the government's up my ass, and it's just not good, and it's confusing.
Yeah, we just have,
because
everybody's been happy, so
yeah. I mean, it's legal in some states, not legal in others. There's marijuana there's medical, there's recreational, and then there's going on vacation. It's, one, you do still test for it. It's not actually illegal to test for marijuana anywhere. There's not a whole lot of point in some places, but it is still 100% illegal to be under the influence on the job. Now, with marijuana especially, it can test positive for a month or more, and after you've imbibed, and with very little way to tell if it was that morning right before getting on the clock or if it was last week or day ago, whatever. So it needs to be coupled. It's not a stand by itself, but the drug test still has validity because guess what? There's still more drugs out there than just pot that put you at a lot more risk, and you have to be aware what's going on. So, whether you have a medical card that gives you some backup, but it's not an end all be all by itself. And it doesn't have to be as complex or dramatic as a lot of employers are making it, or as dramatic as a number of employees are making it because they want their weed. Okay, fine, whatever. I don't care. That's not the point. The point is, are you helping represent the brand? Is the brand protected from a bad actor or somebody who does cross that line because they think they can get away with it or because they think they should be able to get away with it when it's still illegal? So as long as everybody's on the same page and communicating, it's not a problem. Had a question come in today saying, yeah, I'd had an applicant that's balking at the drug test because they're going to test positive for pot. I'm like, okay, it's legal in your state. And what constitutes passing a background check or drug screen is subjective based on the company policy and what risk the company is willing to take. So it doesn't have to be a big thing, and it shouldn't be a big thing, but it does still need to be addressed correctly. Yeah. And we do that, obviously.
Once again, in the company handbook, when they get hired, we have it laid out. So we do an initial drug test when somebody hires. We hire somebody. We don't care about weed. So what I do is I ask somebody, are you going to fail something for this? Just please be honest with me. And if they say, hey, I like to smoke pot sometimes, I like to smoke weed, and they fail for weed, I'm not going to not hire them, just to be honest. If they got crack and some other hard things, then yeah, we got a different story. But I will tell them, hey, what you do on your time is your business. But you cannot be doing that when you come to work. And if that ever happens, then we're going to have to deal with it accordingly. And this is another question to you. Some insurance companies, if you get into an accident, they make you require a drug test to pay out. So how does that work if it's technically legal in your state? I mean,
if it's legal in your state, they're under the same restrictions. It's a legal activity unless they have some other information indicating that you are under the influence, actively under the influence at the time, not just in your system because it's going to be there for a month, but if you had it right before you got behind the wheel, yeah, you're acting illegally. But insurance, workers' comp, or auto, it doesn't really matter. Just because it's there, if you're in a legal state, it's a legal activity. And unless they can say you were under the influence at the time, they've got to process the claim.
I guess I wonder just how they know that, though, because
that's the thing, they don't.
Yeah, there's no way.
Which means they have to operate as though it's a no.
Yeah, unless it's just if you're above.
If there was weaving before, if there was weaving before, slurred speech, if it's like they fall off a ladder and they were talking to the customer and they had slurred speech or other things that would indicate being under the influence of something, that can come out in investigation. But for just a straightforward accident that get T-boned in an intersection or accidentally hit somebody else, unless there's some other contributing factor, it's not going to be a thing.
Yeah. Hey, Jason, we're not trying to tell people how to pass drug tests, man. Said a month passes, cranberry juice and water, clean in 4 days.
It depends on how thick you are. For me, it might be 2 months that it'll test positive because it's highly fat soluble. I'm basically a beached whale.
Stop that. That's funny. Funny story though, I'll tell you. Years ago, before I was in HVAC, I went to a job that I was going to, like trying to get a job working in a warehouse, and that was when you used to get those things that we have something around here called like record and tape traders, and you'd buy those little things you drink to clean your pee. And you're supposed to drink them. You're supposed to read the instructions pretty much. You drink that, you pee a few times, and like your third or fourth pee should be in the cup. Well, me, probably stoned while I'm reading the label, drink this thing, and I'm like, oh, I'm holding it in, thinking my first pee needs to be in this cup. I pee in this cup, and it's like neon green. I mean, this thing was glowing. And the lady goes, "You're gonna turn this in?" And I was like, "Yep." She must have asked me 17 times. She was like, "Mr. Cavey, you're going to turn this in." I was like, "Yeah." And she sat there for a little bit, and I'm sitting there, and she's like, "All right, one last time. You're gonna turn this in." I'm like, "Yes." She's like, "Okay." Needless to say, they called me back the next day saying that they were gonna go ahead and let the employer know that I failed. So thank God that was years ago. But yeah, that was not
And look at you now.
Yeah, see, look at me now. I'm a good boy. Don't got to worry about urine test. But yeah, no, I didn't think about that. That is crazy with the different things. And yeah, I mean, I guess, we've had a few issues with that where it's been drugs. We've sent people to rehabs to try to help them, and it didn't work out. And thank God they've done enough other stupid things that letting them go wasn't really a fight. So we didn't have to, like,
Yeah, and there's a lot of other factors. I mean, there's a the ongoing story. That's why anytime you're calling me with something, I'm generally responding with 3 or 4 questions to get to the actual heart of it, get to the context of the situation, so we're not making snap decisions that could put you at more risk. So and that goes for everything. So we covered payroll, we've talked about drugs. There's dealing with sick time now and COVID and what the latest, protocols recommended by the CDC. There are no mandates at this time anywhere in the country. Some individual schools and stuff like that have put stuff back in place, but it's, you just need to be aware, and then it's a matter of your risk tolerance.
Yeah. Something I was wondering is, so two things I was curious. Is there laws now that you have to give men maternal leave like you give a woman? And is there something by law like bereavement when somebody dies? Like, is there a certain amount of days? We were trying to look this up.
Some states do have mandated bereavement leave and the list of qualifying relatives. Some states do have paternity leave mandated as part of whole family. States like California, Washington, Oregon have combined into this mandatory paid family leave, whether it's partially funded by the employee, whether it's fully funded by the state, or fully funded by the employer, like unemployment is, things like that. It just highly varies from state to state. But ultimately, again, it comes down to doing the right thing for your team and representing the brand. If you're going to be a family first, how much time do you need? I mean, it was pulling teeth. When I worked for Best Buy in the service center, I worked for Geek Squad. That was most of my technical experience out of the Navy. And it was pulling teeth to get a couple of weeks. And they had full FMLA and everything else. And it was really hard to navigate. And nobody should have to go through that to spend a couple of weeks to help their wife, help their, and help their newborn, welcome them into the world.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I get I'm old school, and I get letting the husband off for, if he has a baby being born, like take off a week or so, be there, bring him home. But I'm sorry, and I probably shouldn't say this, but guys that are taking off 3 months to be with their wife, it's like me personally, I want to be there in the beginning when the baby's born, get the baby home, but then I want to get back to work. I don't want to sit home all day, you know? But
not everybody is like that.
True.
And if they, all of these things are generally unpaid. If it's a funded program, there's some compensation from the state for some or all of that time, but it's never at full wages. So, things that you have to take into consideration, but not everybody's the same. If somebody with a, run relationship with their father may relish the opportunity to spend extended time with their child, especially out of the gate. Others like us, we're like, no, get me back to work. Please, honey, let me go back.
It's me.
But the laws, you'll see me post a lot on Facebook, talking about the overreach of the government, and they paint with these broad strokes that group everybody in, and it opens up a lot of vulnerability every time they do it. So I would much rather see individual companies say, yeah, we grant paternity leave. You can have up to this much, rather than the government stepping in saying, okay, every father gets access to this and the state's going to pay for it.
I don't like that.
Which is really the employer's going to pay for it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, no, I don't like that at all. Yeah, I mean, and I know bereavement. I think we looked at ours, and in our company handbook, we have 3 days. They get
Standards 3 days.
Yeah, and I think it's for like mom, dad, brother, sister, grandfather, grandmother, son, daughter, something like that, child. But obviously, if one of our good employees comes to us and says, they lose their father and say, hey, I need a couple more days, I'm not going to tell the people no, because I know I was very close to my dad, and when my dad passed, I took a week. And to be honest, a week really wasn't long enough, but I had to get back to work to get my mind moving. So, somebody who's been through that, I make sure that I give those people that time. And if they ask for it, it's, reasonable. Like one of our guys, I don't want to say his business, but some of these people know him. His father just passed, who lives in a different country. And he took his 3 days, and I thought he was going to ask to go back to that country. And if he did, obviously I was going to be like, hey, man, you do what you got to do. But he didn't have to do that. So I was prepared if he asked to be like, of course, go back and see your dad, lay him to rest or whatever you do in religion,
And going past that, it can go from bereavement into a qualified disability leave. What accommodations would you make after somebody went through a serious accident if they're not right in the head to come back and and support and represent the brand and take care of the customers? You don't want to put them in a spot where they're going to mess something up when they shouldn't be there, and they know they shouldn't be there, they shouldn't be there. So you grant that accommodation. Now, whether that's continued paid leave, they're accessing their sick or vacation time on the fly, you can make accommodations like that. But it all starts with, do you have that opportunity laid out in your employee handbook? You guys do. So it's not a thing. It's just, what do you want to do out of it? And then how can we get there? How can we take care of the company needs as well as the employee needs? And that's the big thing that makes me different from HR professionals that are out there. I'm on a podcast person, and I'm a next technician. I didn't come to HR in the normal path.
Yeah.
And I'm just as blue collar. I'm just a paper pusher now.
I mean, and majority of your clients are all like in the trades of some form, right?
Oh yeah, I specialize in the trades. I think I have only a handful of trade companies, and only 2 that don't touch the trades in some way. I've got a fitness studio in California. I've got a supply, like garden center retail shop in Wisconsin. But everybody else is either directly in the trades: HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing, garage door, landscaping, home service companies. And then I've got a couple of marketing companies that work exclusively with the trades. So
Nice. So what is your kind of meat and potatoes? Like, what is the biggest company you deal with? Because obviously, if you get to a certain size, you're gonna have in-house HR. So, what is like? So the 1 to 2 up to what?
So to pat myself on the back on this and the genius of my business model, I can actually support and provide valuable service to any size company. So I've got owner operators that are looking to hire their first people. It's a lot easier to hire me to get that foundation set so you're growing on the right path and doing things right out of the gate. But I go all the way up to several hundred employees. And yeah, they have in house HR, but almost every one of them is overworked. So I'm an additional resource. My team can be pulled in to draft documents, to do additional research, just to bounce ideas off. Because HR manager in a big company or HR director, it's a kind of lonely position to be in because the CEO and senior leadership generally don't fully trust you. And the employees don't fully trust you because they automatically assume you're a shill or a mouthpiece for the other side. And it ends up being a lot of us versus them. And nobody has time for that. So having another resource that they can, reach out and call and talk things through, they need spaces to vent too.
Yeah, they
And
no.
I provide it.
I didn't think about that. No, that's pretty awesome. And some of the little things people don't realize, like, when you fire somebody and maybe that person 100% deserved to be fired. You know it, they know it. You still need to handle that in a proper way. Cover your ass, the documentations, how you present their last paycheck, how you do everything, because if you don't do that properly, you can get in trouble. That's something I never thought about. And we've had you work up some letters for us on a couple of things because we're like, hey, are we going to get fucked on this one? And you never know.
Yeah, the worst feeling in the world for an employer is they let go a bad act or somebody who needed to go, and everybody knows it, just like you said, but they screw it up and they're the bad guy with the Department of Labor. They get that that inspection. They're having their life turned upside down. They're getting fined tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars because this employee screwed up and it wasn't handled correctly. Messing around with final paychecks. One free piece of advice: it does not matter what is signed at hire. If you don't get authorization if the employer does not get a fresh sign off acknowledging a debt and saying, yes, you can pull this from my final paycheck, they can't take it from that final paycheck. They can still come after you for legally owed debt. If it's a valid loan, if it's, accidents or, moving violation tickets that you're paying off, they can still come after you for that if you fail to cooperate. But it cannot be done on the final paycheck or else they're the bad guy. This is another case of wage theft.
Yep.
Only pre-approved deductions. And so many employers want to try to circumnavigate that by this policy, we're going to take this from your final check. No. How many times do I have to say it? No, you can't do that. You have to get them to sign it then.
And most people don't say anything. And I thought that for the longest time. And you can't do that. And let's be honest, like most companies I've ever worked for, whether it was management or not, how they figured out how much they would let you get in a tool loan was based on what you made in a week, a 40-hour paycheck. They wouldn't let you go above that. So if God forbid you got fired or told them to go F themselves, they could take your last paycheck and get their money back. But now, like Ian just said, they can't do that. So if you're leaving a company and you tell them, hey, you cannot take my last check, you guys need to educate yourself. They cannot do that. Doesn't mean that you don't got to pay them. They can still come after you legally and do other things. You still have to pay it, but they cannot take your last check. You all should know that. You just learned something.
Yeah, protect yourself. I mean, that's part of it. Employers can't run their business, can't build their brand without the employees. The employees can't do the work that they enjoy doing. They can't earn the money that they want if they screw around with the employer. it takes both sides to make the entire system work. And either side can get screwed legally if it's not handled correctly. You don't want the police showing up because you refuse to return tools in a van when you leave a company. You don't want, and on the employer side, you don't want OSHA crawling up your butt because a disgruntled employee who knows about all the safety violations that everybody knows happens in a company that would be really easy to fix. Nobody has time for that, and nobody wants the drama, even though our society is completely built around it at this point.
Yes, they are. One thing I'd love to ask you into the whole last paycheck, like tool loans and stuff, is, and we've never had a problem, but we do this, and I know a lot of places do. Like, we have 4 guys that we just sent to training, and what we tell them is we will pay for the training. We pay for your travel, gas. I mean, how you get there. We pay them while they're in class. But they have to say that they're going to be here for at least a year. If not, then they're responsible for paying for the class. Like, does that have any weight? Could they tell me just to go fuck myself when they leave?
So they can, but again, if you have that agreement written out and it's reasonable, reasonable in term, you can't say I spent $500, so you got to be here for, 5 years. That's nonsense. But if you're spending several $1,000s and, you're just asking for a year, after 5,000, you can kind of push that out to 2 years. But it can be set up as a loan because that training does help them forever. That it's an investment in themselves and you're investing in them. But a couple of factors. One, it has to be a work off. So as they're working, the longer that they go into that term, the lower that dollar amount is. You can't do it the day before that term limit ends and they leave, or you fire them and say, yeah, you owe us the entire $5,000. No, that doesn't fly. They worked 99.9% of the time before you fired them. And then there's firing for cause versus at will. If you're just reorganizing and you lay them off, you shouldn't be going after that money.
No,
because you screwed up other things.
True.
But if they're fired for stealing crap, yeah, you still go after them for how much they owe on that loan that they agreed to. But it still has to be prorated no matter what they're doing to get themselves kicked out the door.
No, that makes sense. Granted, we've never had an issue with it. Because if it's somebody that we don't think would be there in a year, I mean, obviously we've been lucky with good people, so we haven't had that issue. Thank God. But
helps to have a good hiring process to minimize the, hiring the wrong people who would screw you too.
Dude, one thing that really helped us that Ryan learned and incorporated was the Myers-Briggs, and doing that with people and just knowing how certain things implement with people. At first I was like, this is fucking stupid. Like, why are we doing this? But it's actually pretty awesome. And it works, there's a couple of things that it's like, would you have a beer with somebody? Would you let them watch your dog? Like little things. And if you can't answer those questions, those simple things, it's like, well, maybe this person should not work for you, And I was just throwing random things out there, but it just comes down to, little things like that. And like, I'm the kind of person, I guess because of the military mind, when it comes to time, if you're supposed to be at a meeting and you don't show up, I'm not hiring you. I'm just not.
Yeah.
You don't respect my time, especially if you're not worried about that first impression. Then what are you gonna do once you're here for a couple of months and the real you comes out?
These positions as a field technician, installer, whatever, it relies on trust. The employer has to trust that whatever the expectations that they set are actually being followed through on once you're out by yourself in front of the customer. When you're on location, are you following this? Are you on script? Are you following everything that you've been trained on? Are you being legal? Are you being compliant? Are you putting the brand at risk or not? And it's trust. And if they break that trust out of the gate, One of the things in my book is somebody doing a drug test, actually using somebody else's urine for it, submitting it, and it comes back positive for amphetamines when he was worried about pot. I mean, it was stupid on every level by this guy, because they weren't going to disqualify him for pot anyway, but he completely broke trust, willing to break several laws in trying to get around this, and completely screwed himself out of the job, as well as legal liability. If anybody else talks to that employer, they're actually obligated to inform about that sort of situation.
Yeah. Well, and another one that people don't get is, when no matter what you do at a company, if that company calls your past company like for a reference to talk, I can't tell them what I really think about you. I can't say, a lot of times what you take is, would this employee be up for rehire with your company? If they say no,
Yep.
then normally that draws a red flag. But even if they know me, they can't be like, oh, that Dave guy, he's a piece of shit. We caught him doing this. He stole this and blah, blah, blah. That's against the law. You can get in trouble like that. That can't happen.
Unless there is official criminal activity that constitutes a public safety hazard. So if they're stealing from customers' homes, if they're found to be dealing drugs in customer locations, that's domestic abuse or anything like that, any sort of violence. If they're charged or convicted of that, and that's the reason why they had to leave your company, anybody in that line of work that's calling you for a reference, you're actually obligated by law to share that information, because it is a public safety hazard. But if it's a bad attitude, cantankerous, doesn't get along with anybody, all of that stuff, or just bad at their job, you can't share any of that stuff.
What if it's on Facebook?
Because
that's social media official.
As long as you don't tell them to go to your Facebook page to get the rest of the information, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But if you're posting stuff out there, now that's a bad example to set. That doesn't help represent your brand by bad mouthing good or bad employees. But
those people, if they call, I'm very generic with the answers, and those people are going to hang themselves. And so I let it go. I've just always taught never to say anything. But this is a good one that my buddy Jason asked, and he said, if you could enlighten all them on the non-compete clause, the non-compete that people sign, so I'll let you answer, but I'll tell you how I think it's supposed to work. So obviously I've worked, as management, and I've been in the inner workings with some companies. I've also been a tech, and it's different in those positions when you sign a non-compete clause, meaning non-compete clause, meaning that, you can't steal their customers and take their processes and things like that. But that's not the same for everybody, correct?
Oh, no. It's actually becoming more and more sketchy to have any sort of non-compete clause, anything that restricts people from being able to go out and work in their field that they're experienced and knowledgeable in. There's different things for managers versus line level employees, but there's really no valid cause to have a technician sign a non-compete. There's just no justification for it, and it's becoming outright illegal. And I shared information today about, in California specifically, as of the 1st of next year, they can come after you civilly, like civil lawsuits for pain and suffering, for stress that you've caused them by putting this non-compete that they know is not enforceable. Because that's a very common tactic. Yeah, I know they're not enforceable, but I do this anyway to keep my guys in line and minimize the chance they're going to screw me. Yeah, that's a good brand to represent there. But it's just, you don't screw around with it. You want to make sure that you're treating the people right so that they're not going to screw you. But non-compete, non-disparagement is just BS because that's freedom of speech. But now what you can protect is your customer list. Your customer list is protected intellectual property, company property. If they go out and start up their own firm, their own shop, and they're out there and they're specifically targeting and calling down your client list, trying to steal people, or your employee. Well, if they come after your employees, if your employees want to leave for them, it's better that they're gone. But for the customers, if you find that they're doing this and not attracting them through public marketing, that's legally actionable. It works both ways. So you don't need extra legal forms and threatening to sue people on day one of their job.
So we have a guy that he goes into one of our customers. He's there in our uniform to work, gives them a cost to do something. Hey, I don't have that money. And he says, oh, I'll change that capacitor. Just give me $50. I can still go after him. It's just not.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's side work.
His own time and does it to our customer. I can still go after him, but the non-compete doesn't really hold water.
No, the non-compete, that's just fraud. I mean, doing side work for customers and doing it under the color of the company, but then intentionally rerouting that work to yourself, that's fraud. That's theft from the company. You've used company resources to line your own pocket versus doing your job. That's actionable. It's fraud depending on how much you're doing it or how much is uncovered during an investigation. It could turn into a big deal, legitimately, the employer coming after you, and you might as well just find a new trade.
Yeah, no, that's true. So I guess let them know. So like me at Beltway, being the GM, if I was to leave, that non-compete is a little bit different. It can affect myself.
Yes, he can, except for if you're going into the role of a tech. But if you're in a company and there's reasonable suspicion that you're sharing tactics and helping them develop to specifically go after Beltway, yeah, that would be actionable. But going in as a GM for next door competitor, yeah, they can absolutely prevent you from doing that.
So now you guys know.
It's just the blanket stuff.
Yeah, if you are a regular employee, that non-compete doesn't hold water, so don't be scared of it. This is one question that I have to ask you though. So if we create certain forms and documents that are trademarked and a guy leaves and he takes that to another company like, hey, look at my idea. Even though he was not a manager, you can't do shit to them?
It is company property if it's not public knowledge. So one thing that a lot of these non-competes and non-disclosures cover is marketing materials. Well, marketing materials are out in the world. It's considered public information. So it's not protected. Your competitors should already have your marketing materials. That's opposition research. But if it's internal memos, internal strategies, talking points, again, it's a matter of what is actually released to line level employees and what information should they have access to. But the practices, the SOPs, what you're expecting them to do on the job, none of that's secret sauce. So it's really what information is it that you're trying to protect? Does it qualify as something? If it's that important, you should go through the steps to get it trademarked.
So we do. So if it's trademarked, then we're covered.
Yeah, not just copyrighted, but actually registered trademark on systems, processes, things like that. You can absolutely protect that as your intellectual property.
Okay, yeah.
That's a whole different set of laws.
Yeah, Ryan got these things trademarked. Okay, so that's good to know.
Yep.
We're up at an hour. So if you guys have questions, if any of you have more questions, please put them in all caps. We'll answer a couple more. My buddy Blogger says, what can you do when your employer is not paying you the proper hours you worked?
So I recommend that you approach with whatever documentation showing that you actually work these hours that need to be compensated. If they're not cooperating, you know, at some point you have to make the call to contact somebody like me to try to mediate, or go find an actual lawyer to put in a complaint, or just go to wage and hour for your state and file a complaint, and then they'll step in and investigate, and what comes. If it's past wages that you get paid back with penalties, and different states have different structures for recompensating employees that haven't been paid correctly, but government does not take well to that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. My buddy Scott, HVAC rookie, says, Gil, ask where we can go to get educate ourselves about the laws. That's what I say. And a lot of this stuff
This is what I do.
yeah, I literally have learned from him, and that's why I wanted to bring him back on again, and let you guys know that it's not just as an owner to be able to know these things. I want you guys to know these things to be able to protect yourself, just for this reason. So when you listen to this, you watch this afterwards, and something weird happens, and it's like, hey, shit, I remember listening with Gil and Ian, and they said that this can't happen. Guys, I will let you know. I will put it is the Big Picture Consultant. So it's the bigpictureconsultant.com. Or I don't know, do you give your email? You don't give your personal one, do you?
No. But you can find me on Facebook as h.r.guy.
Yeah,
I'm all over the place in all sorts of groups. I'm in HVAC Uncensored still. I don't post there a whole lot because most of my stuff's for employers. But you can absolutely tag me in a question, and I will get it, and I will respond. That's one of my trademarks, and one of my brand promises for the trades is I respond.
Yeah. Most people don't know his name unless you know him personally. Everybody knows him as the HR. So if you see, that's Ian who's responding, just so you know that. Jason asked this question, which I think we just answered this, Jason, to be honest with you. Can you protect a process and enforce a non-disclosure? Like he just said, it depends on what your role is and whether that is trademarked or not, is whether you can do that. Unless you want to get a little particular, give us more particulars and Ian can answer it. I think that's the answer to your question.
Yeah. That's really it, is just making sure that whatever you're trying to protect, you're willing and able to defend it in front of an uninvolved third party, some bureaucrat sitting behind a bench that's going to ultimately decide if your case is valid or not. And depending on your state, it's a bigger uphill climb than others.
Yeah. I mean, that's why literally after the longest time, people told me, all the stuff that I use, like my logo and different things, like I went and got it copyrighted and trademarked so nobody else can use it. Like I own the rights if somebody was to try to steal it and put it on a t-shirt or something stupid, because even in my group, I saw people doing that. They were just taking, there's a lot of generic things that, maybe the people who own the copyright or the trademark just don't know, but people are just making these things and printing it, making money off of it. And I had a situation where somebody started an HVAC group, commercial HVAC Uncensored. And I talked to a lawyer and he was like, they can't do that. That HVAC Uncensored, whether somebody's before or after it, cannot be used in succession. Thank God they were cool, because I reached out to him and was like, hey, you can't have that, dude. You got to change the name, or you have to talk to some people. And
you can warn them off with a cease and desist and things like that. Fire shot across the bow. We noticed. Get out of here. You want to talk about really going after people? Check out Dan Anatoli over at Kickcharge. He loves going after people for trademark infringement.
Oh yeah, they literally just steal his designs and make them look shitty. Yeah. And they're like, "Hey, look what I did." It's like, "Hey, has that same exact logo." Yeah, Dan Antonelli. Dan's a good dude. I got to get Dan back.
And he's national.
Yeah, he is national. Let's see. He said, my mom works for a large patent and trade law firm. Oh, okay. Well, then your mom would know. If it's trademark and patented, then that's a different story. You own the rights and people can't do that. That's like me. I invented this pen and somebody else tries to sell this pen. Well, guess what? That's, we have a problem. So All right, man. If anybody has another question, I guess I'll take one more. That's it, because we're getting to the end. I don't want to keep Ian any longer. So if you have one more question to put in all caps, we'll take it. Otherwise, I'm going to start to close this out. See, while somebody's writing, Jason, Mr. Jason Johnson. Hey, let me know which one of those 3 bags, man. Just pick one and send me a message, and I will get that sent out to you, bro. The lawyers have an automatic $5 million retainer fee for a year.
I'm a lot cheaper than that.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep paying him. And if he's in here, me and Ryan are gonna have lunch with him tomorrow. Zeke, if you are not using Ian already, you should look into him, and we can talk about it tomorrow. So Zeke Warner is a friend of ours who owns a company in Maryland. He's on the eastern shore across the bridge. We're gonna have lunch with him tomorrow. But
yeah, I've worked with Zeke before. I've lost track of all my active clients.
Okay, I was gonna say, because see you tomorrow, buddy. Yeah, because if he doesn't, then I would say he should definitely do that.
HVAC blogger. I am on LinkedIn. You can ping me on Instagram, but it's very hit and go on that platform. But HR is my number one source. It's just what I came up with, and that's where I'm most active. On LinkedIn, I am Ian Schotanus. Still operate under my real name.
Not his alias. Well, and can't they get through if they go to your website? Isn't there a link to click?
Yeah.
Yep. So
yeah, they can contact me through thebigpictureconsulting.com.
Yeah, let me see.
And Gil has my information that he can share out to my services and all that stuff.
Yeah. So if you guys hit me up, I can get you in touch with Ian as well. Rookie, can you put that web address, that www.thebigpictureconsulting.com in the chat? I never do the links right. So, my man, there he is. There you go. You can click on that right there.
Consulting, ING.
Oh yeah. Consulting, not consult. God damn it, Rookie. You're fired.
Hey, you said it wrong first. See?
I don't.
This is how it works. I call people out for their screw ups.
Rookie. I don't technically pay him either. So, he's the best employee you can have. He doesn't bitch. He doesn't want money. I offer him free stuff. He doesn't take it. Nah, he's a good friend. He helps me make this show possible. That's for sure. All right, man. I won't keep you. We're past an hour. Ian, thank you so much, man. I think this provided a shit ton of education for not only people who own businesses, but also for these guys asking questions about making sure that they're not being, manipulated or taken advantage by their employer. And let's be honest, I know that's not the business you're in, but in the same, you know what I mean? I know that you're not trying to go after employers, but we want people doing the right things. And if people are doing the wrong thing, then that's their fault, not ours for shedding the light.
I'm out there all the time going, it's better that you let me help you before your employees find out that I exist, because I answer questions. That's what I do. I help whoever needs it. And I want there to be a communication with the employer that may be doing things wrong, but wants to get it right. I want peace on earth. I want employers and employees to be happy and, smoke a joint together or whatever. That's where we're at, and gotta communicate. That's number one thing. If you take nothing else away from this, intentional communication. Don't make assumptions. Ask the question. If you think something's off, ask about it. Because the longer you let it fester, the longer that you're going to get riled up, and you could find yourself being the toxic employee or the jerk boss.
Yeah, and let's be honest, some people out there, they just don't know. They think they're doing the right thing. So don't assume if your employer is doing one of these things wrong that they're just malicious and they're doing it to screw you. They might not know. You may say, hey, I learned that this can't happen. They talk to Ian and they're like, oh shit, let's get this fixed.
Most businesses in the trades are owned by ex-technicians.
Yep.
They learned what not to do, some of it from their previous boss, from their previous company. So they carried over the things that they thought were legit and came over and started their own firm, and they're still just as ignorant. It's nobody's fault, but everybody involved can get sued. And I want everybody just to do business. I want you to work. I want you to be happy. I want you to get a date. You know, have a life. So that's what I got for you guys. So
Well, that's awesome. And they're all taking the old fashioned doobie and smoke a doobie part two. If that floats your boat, then by golly, go smoke your doobie. But Ian, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you for coming on and educating everybody. And then obviously I appreciate your services and what you've done for Beltway, because it's been huge for us. It's been educating, and I know it saved our ass on more than one occasion. So thank you for what you do, being out there, being vocal about it, so that people know something like this exists, my man.
and my pleasure. Thanks for having me again. Thank you guys. It's been a great group watching the chat go by.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy. You have a good night. I'm going to go ahead and close this show out. Oh man and man, guys, that was I hope you guys took something from this. Like I said, man, this is why I wanted to do this, because I think the last time I had him on, it was more from a business perspective, and I think that's how a lot of people took it. And I want you business owners to take this by all means, but I also want you to know that your technicians in the field, I'm glad that you guys were asking the questions you were asking. And, you know, now that you guys can know to educate yourself, man, because if you don't know, you don't know. That's, you know, ignorance is bliss. But now you know you can protect yourself. And something as small as, I mean, how many times do you work for a place and maybe somebody had a tool loan and the company took their last check? I always thought that was just the way it was. I will not sit here and lie and say that I've never done that, because I have, until I learned that, hey, you can't do that. Thank God the employees didn't know any different, because if they did, like you guys know right now, I would have been fucked, because they would have been educated and I would have gotten in trouble. But now we know, and now we know that we can no longer do that. So it's about getting better. It's about getting educated, man. So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming on here tonight. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for bearing with me about not having a show last week. Like I said, I was sick as a dog. I have not been that sick in a long time. There wasn't a podcast out last week, and this one came out on Tuesday. Finally getting back in the rhythm. Good thing is my rental house sold. Woohoo! Closes October 6th, and I'm finally going to get into this new house. And once that happens, we can finally get back into a roll. I can have some live people in the studio. It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. So the process is moving slowly, but it is finally moving. I cannot wait. Go Ravens. Go O's. My Baltimore teams are doing good. Ravens didn't look great, but they won. We'll see what happens. Yeah, to be honest, we found a house in Hanover, Pennsylvania. It's like an hour away from here, but the house is absolutely amazing. So I don't know if I want to do that. Not really the hour, but going into a different state, having to change all that, especially with my mom's insurance and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. But process is finally moving, and I'm super excited for it. So thank all you guys for bearing with me. The fact that I was sick is why the Veto giveaway was not announced. That video I'm going to release in the next couple of days. But that's why, it wasn't out, because I didn't have it in me to do anything. But that's about it, guys. Remember, please follow me on all my social media sites. The more I can build up all these different sites, it really helps me get the word out to more people and helps this things grow. So if you haven't followed me on, really, it's just YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, like the podcast Facebook. If you want to join Uncensored, by all means, please do so. If not, really, it's just those through. And then I think I have TikTok as well. All right. With that being said, man, thank you guys. Also, if you guys could go leave me a review on wherever you get the podcast, I want to get those reviews up. Please, if you can leave 5-star. If it's not 5-star, I'd rather you email me and let me know why it's not 5 stars so that I can get better, man. Even though I've won an award and been doing this for a while, I am always trying to get better. I'm not a professional radio guy. I do this for the love and all of you, talking to you, giving back and learning to try to be the best manager, tech, and just guy that I can be. You know what I mean? So with that being said, guys, remember, stay safe out there. We all have somebody to make it home to. All right? Keep your head on the swivel when you're driving. People are crazy. Be careful about getting sick out there. You know what I mean? Protect yourself. Make sure you're taking your vitamins and doing different things so that your body doesn't get worn down. Do the little things to set yourself apart from the next guy or girl. Keep wanting to get better. Keep educating yourself. All right. I always say this. There's no such thing as I don't know anymore. If you don't know, it's because you didn't want to. There are so many resources at our fingertips that you can learn whatever you want. Whether it's a podcast, there's so many amazing podcasts out now on HVAC. It's amazing. This is the best time to listen to HVAC podcasts. There are so many amazing people out there. I was part of the awards ceremony talking about, the HVAC Tactile Awards and, people getting nominated, just having a conversation. And there's so many great shows now that it is hard. And now is the best time to listen. You guys should be listening to one every single day. I try to get out there to support a lot of these guys. They're all my friends. I just can't always get there. But I wholeheartedly support what they do. And I know the work it takes in to do these things. So with that being said, keep trying to make yourself better. Read a book. Listen to a podcast, an online course, whatever it is. Make yourself the best version of you. With that being said, I love you, mofos. Until next week, I'll talk at you later. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored Podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.
And when have you emailed me 20 times that I haven't got back to you, rookie? You liar. See you, everybody.